I am New York.
Yes, I'm New York.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
We are New York.
Welcome to DiverseCITY, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Zyphus Lebrun. This month we're heading to Inwood, a neighborhood on Manhattan's most northern end. The area is home to the Cloisters. It's known for bucolic parks and low-rise skylines, the result of zoning laws passed in 1961. Inwood is majority Dominican, speckled with hookah bars and restaurants that show off other cultures popping up in the neighborhood. It's also garnered a reputation for being two distinct neighborhoods, east of Broadway, where poorer families live, and west of Broadway, where almost all of the area's white and more affluent population resides. Like many areas in the city, the neighborhood is seeing a wave of gentrification that's bringing new restaurants and renters, who some fear will make it more expensive to live in an area that was once touted as the last affordable place in the city. On this episode, Din City, a public health crisis hovers over the area while residents say authorities have turned a deaf ear. Northern Manhattan is not for sale, a rallying cry that could change the way the city rezones communities. And House of Mystery, a local museum explores its history and delves deeper into a story of slavery. Those stories and more coming up as we explore Inwood. Inwood and neighboring Washington Heights are in the midst of a public health crisis. Statistics from the Manhattan Borough President's Office shows that Community Board 12, which encompasses both neighborhoods, has more than 35,000 noise-related complaints to 311 between January and August of this year. That's the most in the city. They're dealing with boom boxes in the wee hours of the morning and bikes belching along straightaways. An effort has emerged to push authorities to stop turning a deaf ear to this issue of noise pollution.
We were literally, and I will say terrorized by fireworks for at least 7 weeks, starting at the end of May, all the way through probably the second week of July. Every single day and night, throughout the entire night, we would have anything from M80s, the ones that sound like bombs. We had those going off constantly.
Tanya Bonner has lived in Washington Heights for 15 years. She is also a member of Community Board 12 that oversees Washington Heights and Inwood. She says the issue of noise pollution goes back many years.
I have 311 complaints going all the way back before 2009. And I've been really trying to push for a conversation about the noise pollution.
The conversation is happening at a time when noise pollution reports to 311 are at an all-time high. Between 2010 and 2015, complaints in the city rose from 200,000 to 384,000. Claudia Scher has lived in Inwood since 2003. She says that the noise has been its worst this year. That's why she created a Facebook group called Washington Heights and Inwood for respectful decibel levels.
I chose the very specific title because I don't want to complain about music on the street. I actually like music on the street, but when the decibel level is so over the top that you can't work, you can't sleep, you can't really do anything other than be at the mercy of this music, that's a whole different story.
Loud music is only part of the story. It's bikers doing stunts, muscle cars careening donuts in intersections, and in some extreme cases, impromptu street parties. The problem has gotten so bad that at least one Inwood resident claims that exploding fireworks brought on a panic attack in her sickly 83-year-old mother.
So on July 4, it was just horrible. The fireworks noise was extreme, really extreme, not only for elderly people, but for everyone. My mom had started having a panic attack, and I tried to control it, but she was really, really afraid.
Ortiz's mother was eventually taken to a hospital, where she died of a stroke several days later. A leading expert on noise pollution says that the research done on people who live near airports shows that noise pollution can lead to sleep deprivation, hearing loss, and other more serious illnesses.
When a person is stressed, there's a change in the physiological system. And it turns out that the research has shown that these changes can indeed lead to cardiovascular disorders.
Dr. Arlene Bronzaf's research into noise pollution began in the 1970s in Inwood. Back then, she proved that children near the louder side of the elevated subway were behind in their reading and comprehension. She eventually helped write New York's noise code that's essentially policed by two agencies.
If it's a late party that's very noisy and you call 311 or you call your precinct, that's going to be a police complaint. But if it's a noisy air conditioner on the roof of another building, that can be handled by DP.
Most of the Inwood calls aren't going to the Department of Environmental Protection. They're going to the NYPD, that some residents say is not being responsive. Their concerns are in part supported by a 2018 study conducted by the State Controller's Office. That report showed that a quarter of the people who called 311 reported the same noise complaint 5 times on average. That's only part of the problem, says Wendy Guardado. Guardado is also a member of the more than 900-strong Facebook group that's part of the effort to bring attention to this issue.
When you call 311, in my experiences, they have always answered in English, and there hasn't been a clear option to speak in another language.
For others like Wanda Ortiz, who lost her mom, she has never called 311 because she fears what police might do.
I don't want to have that that burden in my conscience. If somebody is hurt by authorities and I made the call.
Deputy Inspector Peter Andrea, who is the commanding officer of the 34th Precinct, addressed some of these concerns during an August 4th community board hearing on the issue of noise pollution.
The biggest problem we're having now is we're getting pushback. We're getting people out in the street that want to challenge officers and try to get them on videotape taking a proactive approach to things where they may have to end up locking a person up. And so the officers have to be very careful on how they approach every situation, because we want to continue to foster a good relationship with the community by still addressing the noise complaints and the quality of life conditions.
So why not just go up to the noisy neighbors and ask them to turn it down? Guardado says it's not that easy.
We've heard many examples of people going to have a conversation with the individuals that were perpetuating the noise and having them followed back to their homes, or having them, spoken disrespectfully back, and not being able to actually engage in a respectful conversation.
It's those sort of uncomfortable situations that have caused Cher and her group to call for different ways to address the noise pollution.
In other cities around the world, they've installed noise cameras. And so these noise cameras actually measure decibels. They link to license plates. And if your vehicle violates the noise excessively, then you may receive a ticket in the mail, or you may receive points off your license. And so it's very, very hands-off. It's very non-confrontational.
Cher and her group have also created a flyer that offers noise pollution guidelines to residents. There's also been a proposal to create a task force to address the matter. Bono wants to ensure that the effort is community-led.
We want people in this community to be represented. They're not here to just be mascots, to be pulled out when asked for.
Bono says the problem has gotten so bad that people are already looking into moving out of the area, something she fears at a time when the neighborhood is already changing so much.
We want to keep our people in this community. We want them to feel like this is a place where they can stay, where they can invest, because trust me, with rezoning sniffing down our already breathing down our necks, we can't afford to have mass apartments go empty.
Inwood is one part of Manhattan that has managed to resist high-rise development and major demographic change in the last few decades. According to the census, the Inwood, Washington Heights area is 3/4 Latino, mostly Dominican. The area is also known to have an especially high percentage of rent-regulated housing. But many fear all of this is under threat since City Council passed the neighborhood rezoning plan in 2018. The issue is reflective of how the city, under Mayor Bill de Blasio, approached rezoning neighborhoods. Resistance in Inwood was especially militant, and the fight continues in the courts. Shannon Ayala has more.
The 5-year battle over the Inwood rezoning is perhaps the most dramatic of community struggles against the city's plan to rezone up to 15 neighborhoods to create and preserve affordable housing. Mayor Bill de Blasio's plans were already moving forward in other working-class neighborhoods, including East New York, downtown Far Rockaway, East Harlem, and Jerome Avenue in the Bronx. But they came to Inwood and hit a snag. An Inwood community group took the city to court, potentially calling their entire strategy into question.
The core problem with this that galvanized the community was that more than half of the people who lived here would not have been able to afford the new housing that the mayor was proposing. And that's what lit a fire in people.
Cheryl Pam has lived in Inwood since 2004. She's a community organizer with Inwood Legal Action. The group is part of a coalition called Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale. They say the rezoning will inevitably exacerbate gentrification in Inwood, considered one of the last affordable neighborhoods in Manhattan.
And so hearing that, rezoning would happen, that rents were likely to increase, a lot of people felt like this was just going to incentivize landlords to be more aggressive. And what we did see was a lot of purchases.
But the neighborhood's council member, Adonis Rodriguez, sees things differently. He announced his own vision for transforming Northern Manhattan in 2013. His proposal involved STEM education and extending residential housing to the Harlem River.
It's about developing this community around technology, health, a Latino food destination, building real affordable housing, like the Inwood Library building. It will have like 174 apartments, affordable for family of 3 who make $35,000. That's affordable.
So when Rodriguez's vision and the mayor's intersected in 2015, it seemed like the writing was on the wall for Inwood. But when the Economic Development Corporation launched the Inwood NYC initiative, things got off to a rocky start.
There was an element of mistrust and suspicion that they cultivated because of the way they structured the meetings to make it seem like we were participating, but really they were steering us very strongly.
One of the skeptics was John Young, whose family has owned You Like Chinese Takeout in Inwood for 25 years. He says rent is so high already with the rezoning, he doesn't stand a chance.
The way that I see it, when the rezoning passed, the landlord would either jack up when the lease is up, the landlord would definitely jack up the prices because the land value, they went high. I just tried to stay in business for as long as I could,
Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale wanted the same thing for him.
We went to the city planning hearings. We submitted written comments. We even proposed our own alternative plan. There were the protests, the rallies. We had the fair and the party and the music. They took over the council member's office. They blocked traffic on Dikeman Street. We had petitions.
Despite that response, Councilmember Rodriguez insists he intimately knows the needs of the neighborhood.
So someone that came here in 1983 at the age of 18 has seen how we have not seen a plan to develop and build affordable housing in this neighborhood. In the 12 years of Michael Bloomberg, only 250 affordable units were built.
The plan as it is now mandates that new developments have at least 25% below market rate housing, with what's called deeply affordable units on public land. It also includes language for protecting tenants in rent-regulated apartments, as well as a range of community investments. The local community board voted against most of that plan in early 2018, even with those protections, and suggested changes. But by that summer, the Planning Commission and City Council approved it. Inwood Legal Action then hired a high-profile civil rights attorney, Michael Sussman, and filed a lawsuit.
I was one of like two people who did not want to do a state lawsuit in state court, because which court is going to go against developers in New York? Give me a break.
The suit argued that the city failed to assess and analyze the socioeconomic impacts of the plan. In an unprecedented outcome, the plaintiffs won. Justice Verna Saunders ruled that the city failed to study 8 of the community's concerns, including displacement, speculative real estate, racial impact, and the impact on minority and women-owned businesses.
Then people were like, what does this mean? Does it mean we won? And I was like, yeah.
Justice Saunders also charged that the city council voted before the deputy mayor's office released a statement of findings. But Rodriguez says the council was under time pressure of standard procedure.
And then at some point, the clock gives a numbers a month from the moment when the project is certified as city planning to when the council must vote.
This last summer, the case moved to the state appellate court.
Don't tell the community there'll be no displacing effect when each time you've said that, it's been incorrect.
From a public policy standpoint, I could understand your argument, but is that actually a requirement in the statute?
The higher court reversed the decision, saying the city council acted within the guidelines of the State Environmental Quality Review Manual.
I had no expectations, and then we got the no, and I was a little surprised. I think I was expecting more of a split decision, not a unanimous decision.
They are now asking the state's highest court, the Court of Appeals, to hear their case. For Diverse City, this is Shannon Ayala.
A big part of the neighborhood's rezoning is a plan to renovate the Inwood Public Library into a 17-story residential and commercial building. The project has had its detractors. However, one of the developers says that the project will continue to build community in a neighborhood that prides itself on being close. Crystal Lowe filed that story.
This building, the Inwood New York Public Library, could soon be the site of a 14-story residential building that will be 100% affordable. That's if this man has anything to say about it.
The Inwood Library redevelopment project is one of these game-changing ideas that you could build deeply affordable housing alongside and with the public library.
Dr. Jeremy Kahumban is the president and CEO of the Children's Village, a position he's held for over 16 years. The Children's Village is a nonprofit organization originally founded in 1851 to provide residential care for juvenile delinquents and orphans in New York City. But over the years, that mission has changed.
We focus on 3 areas where children enter large systems. So one is child welfare, the other is juvenile justice, and the third is immigration.
That mission is what's brought them into affordable housing. They've partnered with 2 other organizations on this project. One is a 67-year-old nonprofit dedicated to supporting and empowering the economically disadvantaged called the Community League of the Heights, most commonly known as CLOTH. And the other is Ranger Properties, a full-service real estate development and investment firm with a commitment to equitable and sustainable affordable housing.
The idea that we needed to be involved in affordable housing was not a new idea for us. We looked at this in the early 2000s, and by 2012, we worked with Harlem Dowling to build a concept that we call beautiful and affordable.
The project has been met with some resistance from Inwood residents, who have criticized the city for turning over the library's land to private developers. They warn that Inwood will be without much needed library services during the construction of the new building. For example, Jeffrey Willock is an Inwood resident and founding member of Save Inwood Library, a group dedicated to advocating on behalf of the Inwood Library. In an article titled Libraries as Real Estate, How NYC's Libraries Are Being Stolen, he writes, "The tiny fig leaf of so-called affordable housing as a public benefit cannot hide the fact that this is a tool for real estate development and private enrichment by which the public loses far more than it gains." Over the years, developers and the NYPL have tried their best to ease public tensions by hosting workshops and engaging in community meetings where residents can voice their concerns.
We believe that affordability needs to also come with integration, not segregation. We don't want to build more affordable housing in deeply segregated red line neighborhoods. We have no interest in doing any more of that.
A temporary site for the library will be located a block from the library's current location. The library will notify branch patrons when a closing date is set. Crystal Lowe for DiverseCITY.
Finally from us, sitting on just over half an acre of New York City parkland today is an 18th century farm that once sprawled across 250 acres of Upper Manhattan before eventually being turned into a museum in the early 1900s. Vanessa Monet tells us more about how an exploration of the museum's history is revealing more about the neighborhoods.
Located on Broadway, smack in the middle of what is now bustling Inwood, stands a small farmhouse containing a big chunk of New York City history.
Not only is it the oldest structure in the neighborhood that we're in, but it's the last remaining farmhouse in Manhattan.
Meredith Horsford is the executive director of the Dikeman Farmhouse Museum, a structural relic of 18th century Manhattan, seeking to educate the community about its past as it steps into the future.
To be honest, virtual programming is not something that we had really done any of pre-pandemic, but we really felt strongly that, especially since we weren't going to be able to be open to the public and welcome people through our physical doors, that we really wanted to come up with things that would work that we could bring into people's apartments or living rooms.
Some of the most consequential work the museum has taken on actually began several years ago.
I believe it was the summer of 2018. We worked with our then New York State Senator Marisol Alcantara to hold a press conference at the site of the Inwood Slave Burial Ground, which is on 212th Street, present day 212th Street. Just really to call attention to the site and to make sure that it was something that people were aware of and that it existed. I'm sure most people who walk by it or who attend the school that is right next to it every day have no idea that it's there. So we really wanted to bring it kind of to the forefront and call attention to it and make sure people know that it exists.
This is part of a bigger effort to bring attention to the history of enslaved people in the neighborhood, sparked by a picture of a Dikeman family tree in the museum's visitor center.
It, of course, outlined the family members, the years they were born, the years that they died, and their relationship to everyone else on the family tree. And then at the very bottom, there were really, really, really vague details, because it's all that we had, on enslaved and free men and women who lived on the property. We had very little details. It would say something like, enslaved man between the ages of 18 and 40. No name, no real age, no birth and death, what was this person's role here?
The museum secured a grant from the New York Community Trust, then hired a part-time research assistant to delve deeper into its own history.
We really want to bring some humanity, and talk about people, say their name, and not just talk about, so-and-so as a slave, but to talk about Francis Cujo and where did he come from and what did he do and what were his skills. And then also to talk about the differences between living in the North and being enslaved, and therefore probably living in the household with your enslavers, versus living in the South, where you are much more likely to live in a separate outbuilding.
While the park surrounding the farmhouse fully reopened to the public in September, Admittance to the museum is currently by appointment only due to social distancing constraints, but that hasn't stopped the historical site from coming up with new ways to engage local residents.
We're very open to feedback if people want to reach out to us on social media or on our website. But also, we're really giving a lot of thought to what kinds of things we can do that are very useful right now for our community.
For Diverse City, I'm Vanessa Monet.
That's our look at Northern Manhattan. Join us next time when we'll head over to Staten Island's North Shore to visit the neighboring areas of West New Brighton and Port Richmond. Till then, I'm Zyphus LeBron, helping you explore our diverse city.